contract side, what have we been up to, Mike?
So we have a version 1 of the lending platform that we've been playing with on the various test nets. And I want to say it works. There are some changes that we're making. Let's call it 1.1. The original design was loosely based on Compound 2. So there's a collection of smart contracts that have their own business functions, and they work together to implement the lending platform. So that's a Compound 2 type setup. The storage structure wasn't great, just for like conceptually, it wasn't initially well designed. So we're changing that, and I think once that's done, perhaps as early as the first half of next week, we can probably publish something, maybe the code, likely the deployment on Granada, or maybe Hanjo for that matter, if we bring up a node. Not mainnet, certainly. And we're also working on the UI. The video that we mentioned just a second ago, that's a demo of what the completed UI is going to look like. So it's most certainly a journey to get there, but we have chunks of it already working. We're tying it to the contracts. It's a bit of a moving target because obviously if we actually, as we use it ourselves as a complete product, we find things that we don't like, things we want to change, streamline, and so on. And at the same time, the smart contracts are going to change. So in addition to this fairly minor storage arrangement change, we're also going to implement views, right, in time for H. So lots of work remains, and once all these things are done, of course, we're going to want to test this to exhaustion, because you want to make sure these things are behaving as expected and no one loses money and so forth. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I appreciate the fact that StableTech has been talking about this for quite some months, and perhaps the ecosystem participants are quite eager to see it live, but it's not something that I at least feel comfortable rushing.
Yeah, absolutely. Lending platforms are hard. They're complex. And out of all the DeFi products that are out there, I think lending platforms are probably top 3 hardest to build. And especially on Tezos, where there's not yet an established lending platform, I think it's incumbent upon the people who do some of the earliest platforms to be careful and have a measured and successful launch, because as we saw with Dexter, you know, it's important to launch these things, but phasing it correctly and really battle testing it is really important. Dexter obviously was the first. It added momentum to the Tezos DeFi ecosystem, but ultimately it had to be abandoned. And it's not because, you know, the team behind it didn't work hard. It's because this stuff is intrinsically very difficult, and it just shows you the pitfalls of doing cutting edge stuff, especially on a unique chain like Tezos. So yeah, I also understand some of the impatience that we're seeing online, but we absolutely have to get it right. We have to do it completely correctly and roll it out in a responsible manner, because just looking at all the activity, like we talked before, there is a lot of interest, and potentially the total value lot could be quite substantial.